All right. Welcome everybody to today's call. We wish to get a confirmation from from the call to confirm that you can be able to hear me. Somebody can confirm that.
Yes, Brian, I can confirm you're audible on my side.
Right. So let's get also two more and then for somebody to confirm that they can be able to see my screen. Someone else you can react, send it to the chat so that you can be able to know that we are all set and ready.
We can see your screen.
Yes, the screen is visible, and I think that's all also for the rest of the attendees. So thank you so much for joining in today for .NET Core 2024. So we shall be starting in a minute's time. So as we wait for some few people to join, we need to let our friends know that we are in for today's session, .NET Conf, and it is very interesting for all of you to join us today. And yeah, let's use the chat whenever you have a question, any concern. We'll always respond to them. You can also raise your hand using that feature on Teams at the top. So the presenter will be able to see you and then they can be able to respond to you. Right, so let's give 2 minutes and then we just kickstart. We start the session.
Okay, I think we can start. So thank you everyone for joining this call. Welcome to the .NET Conference 2024. Okay, so the .NET Conference is a celebration of the latest advancement in .NET, which is a software development framework developed by Microsoft. And it provides a runtime environment and a set of libraries and tools for building and running applications on Windows operating system. But more importantly, for this event, you look at the millions of developers around the globe building and creating and contributing to .NET. You'll hear from one of our community leaders who is building solutions every get his insights. Okay, so I'd like to introduce Kemboy. Yeah, Kemboy.
Thank you so much, Rehan, for the good introduction that you've made today. And I welcome everybody to .NET Conf. This is all what we always wait for at the end of each and every year, whereby .NET comes with new versions and a new release of some features for .NET. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Brian Kemboy. I'm a software engineering student in Kirinyaga University, and I'm also a Gold Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. I've been part of this program for 2 years now, and I'm very excited. Built me to has built me to organize several sessions, also getting to know what are coming up on technologies, and also updating my event, my tech communities outside there. So I'm a technical blog writer at Microsoft Tech Community. So I always write some technical blogs to different content, and I hope that if most of you, majority, will be able to interact with those content and you've learned something from it. So I'm also a community leader. I'm now currently serving as the chairperson of the Computer Society of Kirinyaga. So we'll be sharing different links to the community so that you can always be updated of what we are always doing. Feel free to connect with me through X at Kibichi Brian _Brian, and then LinkedIn Kibichi Brian, and also my website. So all these links will be available in the chat so that whenever you have any question or any concern, you can be able to reach out to me. And yeah, we hope to have a great session today. So let me welcome Rehan to also introduce himself.
Hey, thank you, Kemboy. So our network is a little bit laggy. So if you can't see the screen, just give us an alert. So my name is Rehan. I hope you can hear me. And I'm a Better Learn Microsoft Student Ambassador and also the Flutter Mobile Lead at the Computer Society of Kirinyaga. And I'm also the Carifast Tribe Campus Gaming Lead in Kirinyaga. So if you like gaming, so you can drop me a DM on LinkedIn. That's my LinkedIn. It's at Rehan BI. Okay, so .NET's mission is to delight developers and to empower you to build the applications, services, and solutions that you desire with a unified world-class developer platform, amazing developer tools, and a thriving ecosystem. So since last year, it continues to push forward on its mission with updates across all these areas, all while working on the next release of .NET. So it was to make your everyday part of development even better. You know, it partners closely with OpenAI to launch the OpenAI library for .NET. And also it has made vast improvements to get up Copilot for developer productivity alongside Visual Studio and VS Code. So we also celebrated the official launch of .NET Aspire, hosted by a virtual developer events around the globe and with hundreds of thousands of developers. And it ensured that you had access to free training necessary to start your .NET journey or to learn a new skill on Microsoft Learn. Now, .NET loves the community, and we love the amazing ecosystem that it's building solutions together. And the NuGet is the home of library and for creators, and it continues to be the fastest package
So
ecosystem.
itakwambia some of the applications zenye
Okay,
hii site
can you
iko
mute?
nazo. For example, inakwambia whether the connection is secure, you can
Can you
expand
mute
that.
that Edwin?
Ikwambia
Please
whether
mute.
the certificate yenye inatumika.
Okay, Edwin, I think Edwin was talking to someone, but it's okay. So I was saying NuGet is the home for the home for library creators, and it continues to be the fastest package manager ecosystem, growing year over year. And there are more than 4,000 packages, and okay, there are more than 4,000 packages for developers and to consume, and they have been downloaded over 500 billion times. Just for reference, that is 45% increases last year. And its continued investment to make NuGet the most secure package ecosystem continues to yield dividends. So they have launched a new feature for developers and library creators alongside key partnerships in the industry. So .NET continues to be the most loved developer framework on the entire planet. In fact, this year Stack Overflow Developers Survey, .NET again ranked as the most admired developer framework, and at the same time, C# and ASP.NET Core took the topmost spots in programming languages and web frameworks. So we love .NET, and it's loved at Microsoft just as much as that, and it's because .NET truly powers Microsoft at scale. Its application and services are powered by .NET at Microsoft and are used by billions of people around the globe and serve trillions of requests every single day. And teams at Microsoft are adopting the latest version of .NET at a record pace, and they are overseeing vast improvements in their apps and services. But what does this mean? Well, it means that they are seeing a reduction in CPU and memory and processing time, all with faster startups and even more throughput. And it's not only the teams at Microsoft, but it's companies around the world. Okay. So is my screen still visible? Okay. So I was saying it's not Microsoft that is using it, but it's companies around the world that trust .NET every single day with their businesses. And how are they and how they are evolving on their business side by using .NET, and all this gets better today with the release of .NET 9. So .NET 9 is the most productive, modern, secure, intelligent, and performing release of .NET yet. And I could talk for hours about all the features packed into this release, but there are some insights and highlights we can go through. First is developer productivity. It gets even better with the release, with update across the entire development life cycles. We know that you need to build beautiful and modern secure applications so you can deliver great solutions to your customers. And we are fully committed to give you the tools and the libraries to infuse those applications with AI. And finally, performance. .NET invested in performance, sprints, and all aspects of developer workloads, languages, and the runtime. So, part of its mission is to continue to make .NET the most performing developer platform anywhere. And you just saw a few highlights on performance, but there's a lot more packed into this release. So Kembo is our community leader, and he's going to show us how to build with ASP.NET Core. So I would like to give Kemboy some time to take you through the features of .NET and why it is the most loved framework across the globe. Okay, so welcome, Kemboy.
All right, so thank you so much, Rehan, for taking us through that introduction session, getting to know what's there in .NET. And .NET 9 has now been released, and .NET Conf started yesterday. Today is the second day, and I think the first community around the world to have a student edition is Computer Society of Kirinyaga, and that is something very cool. We're always up to task and fast to uncover what's there in .NET. All right, so today we shall be covering a new thing. So we've been doing a lot of C# as from now we've had October, now it's November. So look at what is there in ASP.NET so that you can be able to build some APIs. So today it would be an introduction into developing these web applications. If you've never interacted with ASP or with any backend technology, I think this will be your first time to choose to go with .NET, because with that, it's going to convince you more to do that. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know when you can see my screen from your side. Anybody can react or just respond that you can be able to. Okay. From your side, anybody who sees my screen, Dennis, if you can see my screen, that would be okay. Or if you can't see, also you can notify me that you can be able to see my screen. Okay, Lisha, I can see my screen. Yeah, if I could get some 2 or 3 confirmation, that would be cool. Okay. Let me first take you through where to find event.net. I think these are the things that we've been covering for quite some time. Okay, there's somebody's hand is up. Okay, Lisha, you've raised your hand. Can you be able to see my screen?
Brian, we can't hear you.
It is visible from, you can see from the chat. So once my screen is not visible, please let me know, because documentation. You see, it cannot be, we do this.
Kemboi atukuski ama it's on my side. The
I just
net is
think there was
breaking.
an
I
interrupt
can't
to my
hear you.
internet.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't hear you. You are breaking.
Okay, I've made my computer okay. So at this point, you should be able now to hear me very well. Sorry for the interruption. So, okay, now I'm opening the .NET documentation. So wherever you can be able to have anything about .NET. And next, I'm going to open another link, like just say .NET, say download, because that's how many users outside there always does this. So let me just open that, another tab. Okay, and once I break again, somebody can be able to notify me that not that audible from the site. So this is the .NET official documentation. And let's begin by most of the things they talk about is giving you like some tutorials. And I think we've covered several things, especially foundations of C#. But now today we'll be going to building our first application with ASP.NET Core. And then, yeah, there's some cool things with .NET. You can do Aspire, you can do Xamarin, quite a lot. So since we can't do everything in a day, so I'm going to just cover something with ASP.NET Core. But okay, what if you don't have .NET SDK in your application? So you can see from the download. So maybe can be able to Rian will be able to send you these links so that you can be able to download. So now we have the release of .NET 9.0, and yeah, we were from .NET 8. So this is what we're celebrating today, and it was released yesterday. You can see 12th of 12th November 2024. So what you do is just click on this. I think I downloaded the .NET 9 yesterday. You can see from my recent downloads I have .NET 9. So to confirm that you have .NET installed, just open your terminal. Let me open mine over here. Now I'm displaying my terminal on the screens, and I think it should be visible to your ends. So what you can do, let me just increase the font. Then you can just say .NET -- version. And you can see I'm having .NET 9 from my side. Right, somebody's mic is on. Simon. Okay. So this is how you can check that you have .NET installed in your application. So let's now go to the second part of how you can develop your RESTful web API. So we shall be developing a to-do application. So what should you run so that you can develop that application? So we can remember from what we should do from, let me just open a new Visual Studio Code, then have it also displayed. So what you usually do, you always open the control palette, the command palette, Control-Shift-P. So this is how we usually do things, and then creating a new project. So you head to now to start selecting like what do you need. So let's just load that because I just opened my VS Code just now. So just say .NET new project. So it's gonna take some time because I just opened my VS Code just now. But this should give you like an overview of like what you can generate, like you can create a console application. That's what almost 7 sessions we've been having. But today we'll be now creating the web API. So you can decide to go with this. And what we've been doing all along was the console apps. So always now, also we can always try out doing this with the terminal because we've been used to using this. So okay, and something to note for somebody who is joining us in the call for the first time, you should be able to have this extension from it's called the C# dev kit, so that you can be able to get you can be able to write it with IntelliSense, because having this extension, you can be able to write your C# very well. But if you're using Visual Studio by itself, you don't have to have this extension. But for me, I always use the Visual Studio Code because it is lightweight and you can be able to run most of your applications at a go. So I'm going to open my terminal. So and then I would like to run the first command of how you can be able to create a boilerplate of where you'll be able to start writing your code. So for that, just type .NET. So and I hope that most of us we love doing things with the terminal. So just say .NET new web API. So we are developing RESTful APIs. I think if you are new to developing web applications, something like our web API is something maybe it's new to you, but as we go along, I'll be able to explain and break down all these things. So web API, and then I say I want to use controllers in this session. So we have two ways. You can use the controller base or you can use the minimal APIs. So today we are going to do the controllers, and then it's always other people always prefer that they start from minimal APIs because that's when you are stepping into it, and then later on you can now start using controllers. But because most of the applications that you'll be developing will be MVCs, then you'll be able to develop it with controllers. So let's just get started with controllers, and then the output. For this case, I'll say to do, and then this is an event from .NET Conf. So let me call it to do conf, and then enter. So it's creating. From this, you can be able to see that it has created that. So if I'm trying to list and see whatever I have, and then just see, okay, I was in the wrong location. Wait a minute, I should be able to open this in the exact folder because I always try and have my work all planned set up. So let me just open the terminal when over here. So because you can see I opened it in a, let me just check the folder to create it. Here it is. But now searching it through this folder sometimes gives me some headache. So let me just go to a location where I always have this. So, and then I'm going to copy the same link over here. Then I'm going to paste it. So I'm going to close the other terminal, and then we shall be using this. Now I'm in my project, so whereby I always have my projects. So if I do ls, it was one that I was trying with. No, I'll go with that. So the same code, creating the template. Then now we are in. So if I do ls, now you can see you have to do conf. Okay, so we have now to get inside the folder that we've created that has all this, and you can see that what is included in that folder. So for that, we just say cd to do. Okay, I went into another cd back dot. So cd to do conf. So now I'm inside the conf. Let me just clear my screen. And then ls. Now you can see this is what we've been able to create after running the other first command. So we have several things, but we want to see this inside Visual Studio Code because we are now over the terminal and you cannot be able to see it very well. So I just say code, then dot. It's okay. Now let's open this with VS Code, and then let me close the several instances of VS Code that I have, because as my laptop gets heavy, we might have issues. Now let's trust the outputs and then proceed. So this is what we've been able to create from the command that we just come from some few minutes ago. So let me wait for the Solution Explorer to just load. And when the Solution Explorer is still loading, allow me to just show you what's available within this web application. Because if you're coming from different framework, let's say if you've been doing more Node.js, you always have to start everything from scratch, but that's not the case here on .NET. They always give you some code that you can be able to start with. Let's say, for instance, um, this is the program.cs file. This is where our code always starts on, like in another programming language, you can see this was index.js or that. So this is the main build, because whenever you Google this, you see this is a web application that is created by the builder. And this because of the extension that I just told you. When you always have this extension, you don't have to struggle with it. So you can see this is a web application used to configure HTTP pipelines. So when you talk about creating of web applications or web APIs or REST APIs, these are the backend whereby you can be able to run your websites and use them. So it's a good place for you. So this is where now we have the backend, and then later on somebody will be developing the UIs. So we have also the builder connecting to the services like controllers, because now we shall be writing one controller over here. And then we shall also be looking at the services. Like the new thing that has been added to ASP.NET is the Open API. It's good for REST APIs when you, this has represented it has taken the part whereby the Swagger UI usually takes, but now we have now Open API taking that spot. Then now these are app. Then the app is now being built, and then you can be able now to show that to when testing it. So you can test it with any of your API testing, but we shall be using the HTTP REST client. So for this, you'll have to have an extension known as REST client. So, and whenever you get stuck, please let me know. So this is REST client. So when you have this extension, you can be able to run this or test your API very well. Yeah, let's get to see other things that comes with it. So you can see we have a bin folder. So we've been seeing the bin folder for quite some time in our different sessions. This is because this is where when you debug your code or building your project, so it always occurs in the bin, because this is where they try. Okay, my sound is breaking. I hope now the issue is resolved. Can I confirm? Issues. Yes, okay. For your internet, I hope it's not resolved. Yeah, can get some feedback. I think it's okay. So let's proceed, and I'm sorry for the interruptions caused by my internet today. Right. So I was talking about you having these REST clients. There's somebody's mic is on, Ethan. Okay. So now we can see now there's another folder known as the controllers. And if my screen is back, I'm sorry, I think my internet's quite low. So we have the controllers. Controller is where we always write all the CRUD functionalities. CRUD functionality stands for creating something. You can be able to create, let's say, a to-do application. You can be able to update it. You can be able to delete it. And you can be able to view one thing. So that's what always stands for CRUD. I don't know if I can be able to write it just over here. So it is CRUD. So creating, reading, updating, and deleting. Okay. So we'll write our own controller and we'll be able to see how it's done with ASP.NET. So also these other parts whereby the objects or object folder goes with what you always try and when you're debugging your code. So we have other things like properties. So like whenever you want to launch your ASP.NET code, so it always opens in a folder. For instance, okay, it always opens in our browser. So we can be able to launch it and then you can be able to see all those because these are web API. It happens also always in the web. Right. You can launch it on HTTP or HTTPS, and we shall be able to see this. And all of them are under the development. Now, not in production, now it's in development. We have another thing that is apps.json. So whenever you have some secrets that you want to keep in your files, it's always good for you to have them inside the app.json. And in the next sessions or next events that we shall be having, we'll be talking about how we can be able to have those sessions in here. What other thing can be able to see? Let's go with that and then we'll be able to talk more about that. So I'll be using this tutorial over here and anybody can be able to use it. So just share it on the chat. So whenever you're stuck, that's what I'll be showing you today, direct from the documentation, and it will be able to guide you all. Okay. I think we'll start by packages because we've already talked about having some using nuggets to have some libraries. So let me get that and then proceed. For the documentation to load my so what we shall be developing is we'll be creating a to-do app, but the to-do app will not be having a database. So we'll be storing it in memory. So that means that when you refresh or stop your application, it will always stop it. Like you will not have your data back. So let me start by installing the package from Nugget package. And I think I can be able to show you where do you get these things, especially when you want to find them. So I just have the NuGet.org. So it's loading over here. So for instance, we shall be using the Microsoft Entity Framework. Framework or in memory. Okay. Let's search for the package that you're looking for. Let me just copy it, right? I think I've copied something wrong. Let me just copy the name the package and then it's pasted over here. So in memory means that we want to have entity framework in our application so that entity framework is used to connect into different databases, but in this case, we are connecting in memory, so it's not going to save our work. So, and this is what we have over here, Microsoft Entity Framework.com, in memory. So we have the different versions. So we can see we have these things always updates each and every time. This was released yesterday. When I was trying out, it was released like 2 minutes ago or 3 minutes ago, and when you're trying something new that's updated, let's say some time back or hours back, it might have some issues. So I'm going to go with this, the second one that is 9.0.0 RC. So this is the one that I'm going to be installing in this case. So I'm going to copy that in your VS Code. My VS Code. Open my terminal on my VS Code and then be able to paste that. So this will install that package. So let me install all the packages that we need in this case so that we don't have to be back to the terminal. So you can see everything is in. So you always get info and logs. And whenever you get an error, it means that you are not able to install that package. So how do you confirm that the package is in? So you can just say .net list page. So it will always tell you all the packages that you have in your application. So in this case, we have the OpenAI package and we have the entity framework in memory at the moment. So let's proceed now to, so we've talked about the HTTP and HTTPS. So we want us to use HTTPS when we'll be trying our application. So, okay, if you want to do that, you can always, you have to always trust HTTPS in your application. In this case, what I mean, let me just clear the screen or the terminal again. So I'm using the terminal in VS Code, and this is what you get. So .NET dev cert. So you're getting the certificate so that you can be able to test with HTTP. Yes, you have to trust them then. So you can see here, I successfully trusted the existing HTTP certificate. Right. So if you want to do this and try it out in your browsers, you can do .NET run HTTPS. So this is how you can always test your application by running it. So it will build, and then let's wait for it to build. So just give it some time. So when you're building for the first time, it always takes some time. So and you can see on this other side, when it's building, you have like whatever is happening, it is being included. So there's some activities on the bin folder that I told you. And you get everything info, and you can be able to test it. So let me get into HTTP over here and be able to test the application. So at this point, you can be able to test the default given the weather API and be able to see it's over here. And you can see this, what we get as the template. So we'll be able to create ours and then we see how it is done. Yep. So let's now get into the code and do some classes. So first, I'm going to create a models folder. So for this, let me just open the Solution Explorer over here. So this is the Solutions Explorer. When I expand over it, you can be able to write everything in your Solution Explorer and then be able to test it. So this always comes when you're writing C# code, whether in Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code. So let me create a folder known as models. So models is, you'll be able to have all those code that's going to interact with the database over here. So if I expand on the models folder, there's nothing, so I have to create a file. So let me name this file to do item. So I'm sorry, so I'm supposed to create a file and then give the file name. So it is a class. So let me name it to do item. Create it. So we'll be able to have a class inside that. So most of the things that we'll be able to talk about on C# is namespaces. It's how you can be able to organize your work. So we have this as to do conf dot models. So models is the name of the folder you're using, and then the project name is the do conf. So whenever I'll be referencing this in the program.cs, it always means this file. So in this case, I'm going to just write an ID and having a string. So in this, I'll say public long ID. So the ID will get and set it, and then the same will happen for name. So public, so this is a string. And then the last one is whether it's complete. You always get this suggestion on your code that non-nullable properties name must contain some values. It means that by default strings are nullable, so you can say it's optional or it's a must. When you want to make that it's compulsory, you can say it is required. Let me do that. I always say this is required. Let me type that well. Can also say it is required, and that error goes. If it is not required, you can say it is optional. Somebody can give a name or not. So this is how you can solve that issue. It's not a bug, but it's a suggestion that C# gives you. So next thing is we want to create some DB context. So this is a model. A model is like how a to-do is looks like it's a shape of a to-do application. Any to-do must have an ID, any to-do must have a name, and any to-do have a status. That's what we are checking is complete, is a Boolean. It's either true or false. So now we have to now create a session with the database by having another class inside the models folder, and I'll name this to-do context. Let me make sure the spelling is okay. So to do context, then enter. So what's let's now get to understand what is context in terms of ASP.NET Core. So we want to relate this class over here, or this model that we've created over to do with the database, and the database we're using today is in memory. So when we meet next time, we'll now be connecting to, let's say, MongoDB or connecting to SQL servers, and we can be able to see how that works. So this is like just creating that interconnection between the two. So whatever Copilot is giving me is correct, but I have not inherited this from DB context. And you see, DB context comes from that framework that we installed, that is Microsoft Entity Framework. So over here, using a Microsoft Entity Framework. So if you're coming from a JavaScript environment, you could see this as import from that whatever location of the library. But now in .NET, we're using and then using that framework that you've installed. Yeah, this is how you write it. So let's get into understanding what we have here. So the class to do context inherits from DB context. When you hover over it, it explains to you what DB context is. You can see DB context is an instance. It represents the session with the database itself. So whenever you are querying the database or wanting to get something from the database, you always use this DB context to get it. And then now I'm having my constructor over here. So constructor is a way you can be able to inject into the items itself or into the database. So you don't want all these to be available to the end user. So you must ensure that somebody injects this through dependency injection. So we shall be talking about what's the dependency injection in C# or C#.NET, so that you can be able to understand more about it. And it takes some options. And this is the good thing of the dev kit. It gives you explanation. So this is like giving you those options so that you can be able to inject through the DB context. And what are we taking for that case? We're taking the to do context. That is the class we're creating as the options. And the option is inheriting from, we inherited the options from the base. You see, initializes a new instance of DB context because we inherited it. So that is it. Each and every time when we have the CRUD functionalities that we talked about, let's say the CRUD functionalities, these operations will be made because we have the DB set. I'm sorry for the complex terminologies that I'm using, because if this is your first time, you will find this quite difficult. So DB set will have to take some type. We told you that C# is strongly typed. So it's going to take a type of to do item. So to do item is over here. So it's going to take this type that we defined, and it's going to always map through it so that whenever you change anything, let's say if you change or updated something, it's going to sync with whatever you have in that class. So these are the two fundamental things you always start with. So the models is interacting with the database. The controllers is just functions that will be running so that it can interact with the models. So today we don't have the view because you always see something known as the MVC model, the MVC model. So M stands for models, then V stands for the view, and then C stands for the controllers. But in this case, we developing the REST APIs, and we don't want to complicate matters by having the view. The view we always have to write something a user can see. It's something like a user interface for what they can see, but we can be able to test that using our HTTP or the REST client. Now that is done, we have to register our DB context in program.cs. So we've done these things in the models, but the program.cs does not know about it. So it doesn't help much because it doesn't know. So just come and say builder over here. So builder dot services dot. Now you can see it's still saying add Swagger, but we have open API. So let's just go now inside the DB context. So you say add the DB context, and you see it's over. It's suggesting me. So that is it. So which DB context are we having? So we have the to do that we created. We created to do context. It's over here. So when I click over it, it imports. So using where is it? Okay, yes, it is here now. It's using the models that we have because that's what we created. Then we have now to pass those options. You remember we passed those options. So those options was used for dependencies injections. So we can name it options or OPT. And so we're using the in-memory database. So this way, when now I was talking about the models, it was interaction with the database. So the database which I'm using in this case will be in-memory. So you say those options or that dependency injection will be associated direct with which database you're using. So I'm going to use in-memory from Microsoft Entity Framework over here from the suggestions. And then let's name now the database. So the database will be named as to-do list. So with this, we've registered our models or to-do context with the database itself, but the database will be in memory. So if we were using something like SQL Server, it would be option.SQL Server. If it was MongoDB, it will be the same. So let's start with this today, and then next time we'll be able to connect to the other database. So that's all to register the models or the context. So the next part I want to show you is scaffolding. This is the part whereby I like the most with .NET because you don't have to write all the CRUD operations. So you can remember that you can be able to write like creating, you have to create a function for reading, updating, deleting. But with .NET, you can actually scaffold. Scaffolding is like generating those things. Once you set the items at this class over here, that's to do items, you can be able to scaffold and have all of that. let me get to the terminal. So, but to scaffold, you have to have some packages installed. So I'm going to scaffold everything to generate everything or the CRUD functionalities, and then I'll be able to explain how those CRUD functionalities actually work. So let me clear the screen. So the first package is Microsoft Visual Studio Web Code Generation Design. That's to use that is going to help you in code generation. So let me open the Nugget Package Manager. I'm trying to access it, but Teams is closing. Let me just open. Where is my? It's over here. So I'm going to paste. So this is the package that we have to install over here. So all the things that I'm showing you is from a documentation. So let's check on the versions. You see the 9.00 was released yesterday, and this is the one that I have in my previous packages. So you don't have to mix the packages, because if you mix packages with .NET, you're going to get issues. So let's say I'm going to install 9.00 and then go to install 8 point something and then go to install 7 point something. It's going to bring you issues whenever you're going to build. So ensure you go with the packages, or if it is you're going with 9, always go with 9. Don't do 9 and then do 8. You can't mix both of that. So let me go with 9.00 RC. Copy that. I'm going to VS Code. So pasting that and then installing it. As that is installing, we are going also to install the second. So the second one is Microsoft Entity Framework Code Design. So the first one was for code generation, but now to take the designs that I've implemented, you have to have this package also installed. Let me search for that package. It's over here. It's over here. So let's check for that version 9.RC, this one. This is the one that I've been using. So always be consistent. Let me see if the other package is completed. So from this, you can see everything, the logs and info was there, so there were no error. Let me install the second package. So as this installing, we have also to have another one. So scaffolding was an idea from SQL Server. So I know we are not going to use SQL Server in this, but because we are scaffolding things, you have to have the package or connected to a certain database. So because we're using in-memory, but the idea of scaffolding came from SQL Server. So in this case, we'll just need it, even though we are not going to use it. So it will help in generation of those CRUD functionalities. So there's quite a lot to install in this case. So be patient with it. So using the RC, that's nice. Copy that, go to VS Code, then running it. So the last one that we need is the tools. So this is installed, that's nice. Our last package should be the tools. So I need this. So for the tools, right here. So I'm going to copy this and then run that. So on all of this, you can see the name is always similar. It's the tools that it comes from Microsoft Entity Framework. And you can remember that was the first package that we had. So you'll always, if you're doing this for the first time, you always also need to install the code generator or the ASP NET Core generator. Let me check if I have it. Guessing today. So let's wait for this. I think it's installed. I'm just trying out in case. Let me check it from the package itself. You see .NET list package. So you can see from the chat, somebody saying scaffolding and looks a lot like Lombok in Java. Yeah, I've never interacted with that generation of Java, but I think it's actually the same thing. So I'm not going to have this .NET Core generator because I installed it yesterday globally. It takes some time. So if it takes some time on your machine, then there's no problem. You can just wait for it for some time and then have it. So we're not going to generate the part now. Let me go to my terminal over here. Yeah. It was expected. The package that I told you controller. So we want it to be an async API. So that's why we have async over here API is to do context, and the out deal whereby all these should be generated is the controllers folder. So let's wait for the project to build, and then we see what will be the result. So I know this is very long. Let me just repeat it as it's building. .NET ASP NET generator is that package that I told you should be having. It helps you in scaffolding. And we want to scaffold the controllers. So the name of the controller that I want it to be generated is to do items controller. The controller should be async because APIs are dealing with databases and you want things to be asynchronous format. So this is specifying that I'm building an API. So /L-M means that the model name that you created was known as to do item. I think we confirmed that was that. And then the DB context, that is DC over here, means the context that you created that interacts with the database, and then everything will be generated in the controllers. So everything went successfully. And yep, let's see if it's generated. So you can just open the controllers and let me expand this. So to do items controller over here. So we have several codes that have been generated for us, and this is the cool thing with .NET. You don't have to write everything from scratch. So let me now explain to you what we have on this code, and then we can be able to test out like creating, updating, and deleting, and all that. So after that, we shall be able to have achieved today's goal. All right, so let me start here because these are just importation of the packages that we will be needing for this. So first of all, the namespace that we are in is to do conf, the name of the project dot controllers. And this is the routing itself. In this case, it should be now API slash now to do items. Because let me check the model. That comes with the item. So to do item now will be to do item. So that's how scaffolding does this. So this is an API controller, and it indicates the type of the HTTP responses. So I think there's somebody who is not muted. Okay. So you can remember from whatever we generated, we say that we wanted a name of a controller known as to do items controller. And you can see the name that was generated is to do items controller. But now you must inherit from the base controller that's known as the controllers base. So ASP.NET is all about object-oriented programming. So you don't have to rewrite things over and over again. So the second thing is having that DB context. So the DB context that we have is really okay. Somebody is also unmuted. Right. So the DB context that we created is also available here with now the context that we can be able to manipulate. But also using the dependency injection, you have to create a control. Don't give people access to the DB context itself. So we create right. So we'll be able to return if somebody is unmuted, I can't get with that. Just give me a second. Okay. So we'll be able to return some items. So we are returning them in a list. That's actually what has happened over here. So, but what happens if you want to get something by ID? So also it's an async task. It's an actual result that you want to return something from that to do item. So, and the function name we are giving is get to do item. So what do we expect? We expect an ID from a user so that we can be able to find that. So in this case, we are awaiting that context. So we see now you're interacting with the database using the context. So in this case now context dot that's items and then find that item that you were searching for. If it's item number 1, number 2, or number 3, you can be able to get it from this part. So if item is none, just tell it is not found, and then if it's available, return that one item with that person. Now we have the put. Putting is updating something. So we can say the parts that this API will be API / to do item. So let's say I want to get item or to put item number 5 or update it. So it's called an I action result, especially when you're doing something that changes something in the database, it now becomes an I action. But the other one was just an action whereby you have to return something. But now this involves interacting with the database itself and changing some values. So the name of the function is called put to dos. You expect two things from the user. You expect the ID from that user, and then what are you changing? If you're changing something, status is complete or not. So we're calling it the to-do item we are getting from the user. And if that ID is not available, just tell the user that's a bad request. You don't have to continue with that. But if you get that ID, you have now to get the context and then manipulate the database. So that's why you say entity state dot modified. So you just modify the item that you get, and then you're going to access them through the context. So if there's some issues with saving it to the database, you see we have the try and catch. The try will save the changes, but if we have the changes, you get the catch over here, known as the DB updates concurrency exceptions. So what is posting? So posting is now adding something new to the database. So in this case, we have a task and we want to. So in this case, we have a task and or a to-do that we want to add into our database. So in this case, now we get that item from the user as a payload, and then just get the context, because I told you to interact with the database, you have the context. Can you get it and add it? Then you save changes sync. So save changes sync will always wait. If there's any other operation, it will wait for it and then it will add it. So that's why it's a sync. And if it comes to save it correctly, so you have to return to the user that you have added certain item. So don't just tell somebody that added it and you don't give the assurance. So that's why you have to give that user the exact item that they added. So if you want to delete something, you must provide the ID, also the action result, and then it's action because you are now manipulating the database, you're not just reading it. So in this case, you find it by ID. If it is null, you return not found. But if it is available, just get to the context that we have through dependency injection and then remove that item itself. And then just return no context. In this case, it means that you're telling the user it was done. Nice. Let's go test it out and then see if it actually works. So name .NET.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I think the last part I was doing was building or get out from the meeting. So the last part was now for us to test if this application was successfully built. So let's go to the HTTP and then try out. So in this case, we want to get, or let's first post. What's the to do? So I'm going to now add using the post, and now I'm doing this with the IP itself. So it's going to be post. Let me get the actual type of post that we should have. So it should be an API. So we are posting to APIs to do AI. So that's actually what we need. So it's pretty so that each and every time when I'll be doing this, Copilot will be detecting whatever I'm going to post to. So I'm posting to APIs to do items. So for this, you have now to give the content type. Oh, the item we are having is, let's call it. So in this case, I think it was name. Let me see how the name was. The name was capital M. Let me check the spelling of this. Complete.
As it is.
It is as it is. It's complete. Yeah, it's complete. So I can say it's complete. In this case is for. So it is false. So let me send the request. And okay, you don't have our application running. So in this case, we have first to run the application. I'm talking about that. .NET launch HTTPS. So it's going to build again and then run the application. Yep, it's on. Then I'm going to run it. Yes, I know, Michael. Okay, so I've been able to post something, and you see when you post, you get whatever you've done. So like it has been created. So HTTP 201, which means something was created. So let me also say, let's say you go to the market over here and then sending it. So you see this item number 2. So you can also do something, let's say somebody to clean the house, sending it. So this is going to be ID number 3. The last thing, the last item or something to tell somebody is to visit, say you visit Rayhan. Then let's send it. So this is item number 4. So in this case, what if I want to see if all these were created? So you have to get all of them. So let me close this other part. So if I try and get it, I get all the 4 items. Item 1, 2, 3, and 4. It was all created, and you can see we have all the list. So what if I want to update or get one by ID? So I want to get, let's say, item number 4. Then send the request. So you can see visit Rayhan, it's available. So what if I send item number 8 that we don't have? We'll be told it is not found. 404. These are status codes. Okay. The other thing you can do with this is update. So you can say you want to update the items. So I want to update the item number 2. What was item number 2 saying? The item or the to-do number 2 was go to the market. So let's say this time we want to change. So somebody should not be going to the market and let's say go to the gym, and this complete is false in this case. Then we send it. So this is putting in item number 2 things. Okay, so send the request. So no content. Okay, let's check item number 2, which was valid. So you can see it has changed from go to the market to go to the gym. The last part is deleting. So let's delete item number 2. So send the request, no content. So in this case, let's try and get all, or let's get number 4 and see if it's still available. But it's not found. But if I try and get all of them, you can see we don't have the to-do item number 4. So, and this is how you can be able to create a REST API with ASP.NET. Very easy, you don't have to struggle. So it saves you most of the time of creating the controllers by using this. So the only task that we did is just having the 2 files. And the other part was just having the installation of those packages. The next thing that was to do is just to scaffold, and you can have everything well and then start testing. Yeah, up to that point, I've completed today's demo, and I hope we'll be able to learn something. So, and for anybody who was stuck somewhere, the recording will always be available and we'll be able to share with you. So any question is welcome. Yes, if we have somebody who has some feedback or any question, let's give it some 2 minutes for that, and then we end the session. So Bernard, your hand is up. Proceed.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Thanks for the session, though I joined late, but I've learned something. So I wanted to ask about the new version, which is .NET, that is 9, right? For the
Yes,
.NET.
yes.
So if you are using the .8 version, is it okay if I now migrate to the new version and then get away with the the 8 version?
Okay, you talking about upgrading. I think how I did this is
Yes.
just download the .NET 9. So the system will just pick it direct. Okay, the system will pick it directly. So for this case, just go to downloads. So just go to the documentation, and the documentation is right over here. So in this case, you can be able to download it from the official documentation. So you can see .NET 8 and then .NET 9 was released yesterday. So make sure first you download this, and then it depends. Now sometimes you may be having a project with a client who wants now to use .NET 5 or something. So I think I've answered your question. Bernard. So if somebody else still have some questions, so Mulandi evening, how are you? Or if you have something to say. Right. So at this time, allow me to end the session right over here. So we shall proceed next week with the next. Okay, Michael, your hand is up. You can proceed.
Sorry, I wanted to ask, which architecture do you use when coding with the backend using .NET? I know this is a bit out of topic, but I noticed the way the folders are arranged, and I wanted to ask.
Okay, the pattern that it's mostly used, and the one that I used with this showcase was the MVC model. So this is the most used, and this was the one that we were able to showcase. All right. So, and I think this is the most widely used industry standard, whereby you have to specify like your services will be in the models, the controllers will be the functions running and then interacting with the models. But if you would like to write some view or using the Blazor core from .NET, that's okay. But for most of us, we always write the REST APIs and then we now connect to other frameworks like React. Instead of having the Blazor over here, you can just go and then have React. Let me check on the chat if we have more questions. Yeah, a few challenges, but yeah, the recording will be shared. It is always available on our YouTube playlist from the first session from the fundamentals of C#. And now we are getting to now to ASP.NET. Right. So until then, let's meet in the next session. Let's also join in next week for another session being hosted by Dennis Kaduri. So there's much to share about .NET. So we cannot cover everything that .NET has. So next week we'll have another session, and then the other week we'll have Tiffany also giving us some of the shared news from the .NET Conf. So thank you so much, guys, for joining in, and apologies for the interruptions from the internet that we had. For any that was lagging behind, we can always clarify them through the chat and also through the next sessions. Yep. Until then, let's still write some C# code. Bye-bye.